Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now, according to the British Defense Ministry, the arrest of Russian General Ivan Popov is likely related to his criticism aimed at Russian leadership. According to London, the corruption charges are only a smokescreen used to deflect attention. Now, from the very beginning, the accusations leveled against the Russian general seemed something of a stretch. It's like someone being accused of following a strict diet in a country suffering of hunger or discovering illegal ice trade in Greenland. The absurdity is apparent. But it's Russia we're talking about, and with the protection and grace of the Tsar, you can easily steal whatever you want, from skimming off the top of official government contracts to stealing state assets. Which means that Putin has unsurprisingly been pulling the wool over the eyes of the world with this corruption circus. We have no way of saying who was actually corrupting whom, but the generals moved through the courtrooms quicker than Hurricane Katrina through New Orleans. Now, even Putin's pet, self-styled General Shoigu had to take off his parade uniform and take a chair with less plush than his old throne. You could say that Prigozhin's spirit is doing well, unlike his body, and corruption is a very useful term. It whips up the working class into a frenzy for a mere fraction of the cost it typically takes, and barely anyone ever asks to see the proof, in Russia, of course. Meanwhile, on our favorite clown show, Vladimir Soloviow had a little meltdown reacting to the news that the Koluni Foundation is working on obtaining ICC arrest warrants for Russian state TV propagandists promoting Moscow's genocidal agenda against Ukraine.
Ну и хам ты, пишет мне Борис Медведев. Ты еще фотографии свои пришли, подонок. Сколько же идиотов вокруг. Погода. Тебя за границу выпускают?
Владимир Владимирович, здравия желаю.
Не пробовал, да?
Не пробовал и не хочу, если честно, но я долгое время под
мне тут понравилось, знаешь, мне дико понравилось, значит, тут целый ролик появился у этих подонков, ну, этих агентов иностранной разведки. Это просто анекдот. Вот «Голос Америки». Значит, эти сволочи, значит, какая-то дура. Ну, просто посмотри, получи удовольствие. Анна Нейстат.
В ходе наших расследований в Украине мы всегда спрашиваем украинцев, переживших российскую оккупацию, о том, что говорили российские солдаты, когда занимали их дома. И это дает нам очень хорошее понимание того, как что-либо сказанное много раз, например, на Первом канале российского телевидения, прямо повторяется российским.
Значит так, подонки, я на вас в суд подам. «Голос Америки». Я не работаю на Первом канале российского телевидения. Твари, дегенераты, мерзавцы, как вы могли перепутать? Я работаю на великом ВГТРК, телеканал «Россия» и «Соловьев Лайв». Понятно вам или нет? Поэтому на ней штат в суд. Ни хрена не понимают дешевые твари. А «Голос Америки» иностранный агент, ЦРУшники, всех поймать и посадить. Кстати, сволочи, не забудьте процитировать. Они говорят, мы сейчас такой ордер выпишем, Соловьев раз выйдет за границу, а мы его хоп и арестуем. Ты, что ли, тварь, меня арестовывать будешь? Я и так под всеми санкциями мира. Прости, брат, ты расскажи им про погоду.
Владимир Владимирович, ну вы все четко отметили. Одевайтесь по погоде, к этой минуте у меня все.
Now, something absolutely evil and unjust is afoot. In every other show, as many of you know, Soloviow likes to call for even more genocide against the Ukrainian. Why every other? Well, because the rest of the time he's dedicated to calling for a nuclear war against Western Europe. But suddenly it turns out that all this rage might have consequences, such as, I don't know, ending up in a Hague, alone, forgotten, and your beloved villa auctioning off, with the profits hopefully going to some Ukrainian foundation just to make the pain a little bit greater. And since we're on residence held abroad by Russian officials, we would be remiss not to mention the damage recently suffered by one of Comrade Tsar's many pieces of real estate. Officially, he's a humble guy, married to Russia, and the love of his people is the only asset to his name, but it's all very similar to humble guy narrative of his one fellow from Germany who made a little mess back in the 1940s. World War II? Might have heard of it? Now, Telegram channel Serena has recently reported that one of Vladimir Putin's dachas burned down. The house in question was located in the Altai Republic in the southern part of Siberia. Footage referenced by Serena showing the building burning up was published by blogger Amir Antashev and activist Aruna Arna. The author of the clip also says that the video was shot last Thursday, while the channel maintains that the reasons behind the fire remains unknown. The officer of the day at Russia's Minister of Emergency Simulations refused to answer the questions of the Serena correspondent when reached for a comment. Fire? What fire? It was just a bunch of firemen doing live drills. Typical Russian stuff. Now, in the modern world of cryptocurrencies, it offers many innovative games and applications that promote quick profits with minimal effort. A recent one involves the game Hamster Combat on Telegram. At first glance, it's just a plain ordinary game where users receive cryptocurrency by clicking on a screen. But can things be so easy with no hidden agenda? So in this free game, you need to tap on the image of a hamster to earn crypto. Tapping levels up the rodent, which is expected to further increase the player's profits. The game quickly gained popularity with Telegram users, in Ukraine especially, and it currently has over 42 million active players around the world. Users in various social networks leave links to the game and talk about easy earnings. There's no information on the site or its channel about who owns it, but what if we look closer to the domains? Well, surprise, surprise, a Russian trace is found, as the registrant's official website addresses ends with a .ru, and in the registrant address field is a Moscow address, and the phone number starts with +749, Russian's country code, and the registered URL is nic.ru, which again is one of the largest domain name registers and hosting providing in Russia with an office in Moscow. Okay, now so what if it is developed in Russia? What can go wrong, you may ask? Well, a little reminder. According to Russian law, Russian companies are obligated to store user data and must hand it over to state authorities upon request. Therefore, personal data of foreigners can and will be used without their consent for whatever purpose. Telegram bots can immediately verify user numbers, phone numbers, and can even pin down user locations. So when it comes to payment, bots can access either bank cards or a crypto wallet, and then this data can be used by Kremlin state security. So the next time you come across a game where you seemingly earn money for nothing, remember that you are most likely the product being sold. To close out today's episode, we want to show you the sad reality of many Ukrainians these days. Let's take a look at what the end of the school year looks like in Ukraine during the war.
Запитаю тебе, ти ж керуєш усім там на небі, чому нас не покликав з собою, що невже не сплатили ми долю, що невже ти вважаєш так треба, ми ж долоні
Now, the end of the school year is usually such a happy time for the children. It marks the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. But Russia did something worse than just destroy their school. It has taken away their childhood. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, 550 Ukrainian kids have died due to the war. Now, these kids will never have a normal summer vacation because Russia has its imperialist goals. Now, maybe ask the kids about whether Russia should be negotiated with. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news update and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.